I always thought that Emily and I had the perfect marriage. 10 years together, and we still looked at each other with loving eyes. At least, that's what I thought. Until the day my world turned upside down. It was an ordinary Tuesday. I came home from work early, anticipating a quiet family dinner. Emily wasn't back yet, so I decided to treat myself to a glass of whiskey and the latest episode of my favorite podcast. I plopped down on the couch, leaned back on the pillows, hit play, and then my attention was drawn to a strange sound, some rustling, intermittent breathing. It was coming from the bedroom. Frowning, I paused the podcast and listened. No, it's some kind of nonsense. It just seemed that way. But the rustling didn't stop. Moreover, muffled moans and creaking of the bed were added to it. I froze. This can't be happening. Not Emily. She would never. On stiff legs, I moved toward the bedroom. Each step was difficult, as if my legs were filled with lead. Please let it be a mistake, I prayed to myself. Let me have misheard. Let everything be all right. Alas, prayers didn't help. Opening the door, I saw a picture that would be forever etched in my memory. My wife, my Emily, moaning in the arms of some guy, right on our bed, where just this morning we had been lying tenderly embracing each other. I don't remember what I was shouting. I don't remember kicking that bastard out. I don't remember the door slamming behind a sobbing Emily. I only remember the pain, sharp, tearing, burning to ashes. The next few days turned into hell. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep. I just lay on the couch and stared at the wall, replaying that horrible scene over and over in my head. Why? What for? Was our love, our life, was it all a lie? There were no answers. There was only an all-consuming emptiness and the bitterness of betrayal. And also, anger. No, rage. At Emily, at her lover, at the whole wide world. How dare they? How could she do this to me? One day, gritting my teeth with humiliation and anger, I opened my laptop and started typing. It was an almost animal urge, to turn inside out, to pour out everything that was burning me from the inside. Welcome to the first episode of the new podcast, Depths of Betrayal, I wrote. Yes, I'm one of you, those who have been betrayed, trampled, thrown out like garbage, and I want to tell you my story. Thus began my personal vendetta, my journey through the darkest corners of the human soul, where pain, lies, and disappointment reign. The first episode of Depths of Betrayal was not easy for me. I was choking on my own bile, raving and ranting, cursing Emily and all her sins. I spoke without restraint, pouring out bile and pain. I read letters from listeners, adding their stories to my own. I expected silence at best, condemnation and gloating at worst. But to my surprise, the podcast instantly became popular. My inbox was filled with letters from grateful listeners. Thank you for your honesty. You voiced my innermost feelings. I've been keeping it inside for so long, and you made me realize I'm not alone. Your podcast is like a balm for the wounds. I listen and cry, with relief that someone understands me. Really, thank you. My God, it's like you're reading my mind. Everything is spot on to the last word. It's like it didn't happen to me, but to you. I was in shock. Turns out I'm not the only one, betrayed and trampled. There are thousands of us, and all we want is to be heard, understood, accepted. Gradually, the tone of the podcast began to change. Instead of anger and sarcasm, it sounded bitter. Pain, bewilderment. I was no longer denouncing. I was trying to understand. What drives people to cheat? I pondered on the air. Is it all about dissatisfaction, a thirst for thrills, or is there something deeper unconscious behind every betrayal? I started inviting psychologists and family counselors on the air. I tried to understand the nature of marital infidelity, the origins of lies. I dug deeper and deeper, hoping to find an answer. And you know what? It helped. With each episode, it became a little easier for me to breathe, as if I was slowly getting out from under the rubble of my own pain, finding a foothold. And the letters kept coming and coming. And among the thanks and words of support, I suddenly began to notice something new. Stories of forgiveness. People wrote about how they managed to forgive infidelity and move on. I couldn't look at my wife without hatred for 5 years. But then I realized she is human too, just as weak and stupid as I am. And if I want to be happy, I have to let go, forgive. Believe me, I know what it's like. I've been in your shoes myself, but life is too short to waste it on pain. Forgive, not for her sake, but for your own. It will get easier, I promise. These letters touched me to the depths of my soul. Is there really a chance to fix everything? Is it really possible to forgive and be happy again? I didn't know the answer yet, but the first sprouts of hope were already breaking through the pain and anger. Maybe my story would have a happy ending after all. While I was digging into myself and sharing my innermost thoughts with the whole world, my wife, as it turned out, was not sitting idly by either. Emily had always loved podcasts. She listened to them on the way to work, while cooking dinner, or just relaxing in the evening. And as luck would have it, one day she stumbled upon Depths of Betrayal, quite by accident, just scrolling through the recommendations feed. Intrigued by the title, she turned on the first episode, and then she got hooked. Emily listened, holding her breath, with each series, recognizing her own story in the host's words. Her sin, the pain she had caused her loved one. I thought I heard your voice, she later confessed to me. Every intonation, every bitter note hit my nerves so hard that I wanted to scream. Because it's all true, cruel and merciless. Emily sobbed, clutching her phone. She rushed around the apartment, unable to find peace. She scolded herself, hated herself, couldn't look in the mirror. The pain she had caused me had now caught up with her. But along with the pain came something else, understanding. Listening to stories of forgiveness, Emily suddenly realized that it was in her power to change everything, to fix it, to atone. Your podcast opened my eyes, she said through tears. I realized what a monstrous mistake I had made, how much I love you, and that I'm ready to do anything to regain your trust. She listened and listened, absorbing every word, and each episode seemed to push her toward the decisive step, toward confession, toward repentance. And so, a month after that fateful day, Emily called, for the first time in all that time. Her voice trembled with agitation and fear. I need to tell you something. Forgive me, I beg you. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I love you so much. Let's start over. Please. I listened in silence, squeezing the phone, barely holding back tears. God, how I had waited for those words, dreamed of them, imagined them. And now she was sobbing into the phone, begging for forgiveness. We need to meet, I said in a strange voice. We have a lot to talk about. At that moment, I didn't yet know how this conversation would end. I had no idea what our fate would be, but one thing I knew for sure, the pain was beginning to recede, and hope was taking its place. After Emily's call, everything changed. No, I didn't forgive her right away, the wounds were too fresh. But I gave her a chance to explain everything, to make amends, to atone for her guilt. We met in the park, the same one where we used to walk, holding hands. Emily looked pale and haggard, but there was determination in her eyes. She spoke, faltering and stumbling, confusing her words. She talked about how sorry she was, how much she regretted it, how she wanted to get it all back. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, Emily repeated through her tears. But I love you. I love you more than life itself. And I'll do anything to make you believe me again, to make us happy again. I was silent, swallowing the lump in my throat. How easy it would be to believe her now, to pull her to me, to bury my face in her hair, to forget everything. But something was stopping me, some internal emergency brake. I need time, I said quietly. You can't just take everything that happened and cross it out. It's too painful. Give me time. Emily nodded, sobbing, and I knew she would give me as much time as I needed, because she loves me, truly. And I suddenly realized that I love her too, in spite of everything, against all odds. But first I need to sort myself out, to understand the nature of my pain, and learn to live with it. I threw myself into the podcast. Now it was no longer just a cry from the heart, it was a whole investigation. Conversations with psychologists, sociologists, the cheaters themselves. Attempts to understand what drives people to deception. And you know what I realized? Affairs are often not born out of a good life. Behind each of them is fear, insecurity, lack of love, and it's not about promiscuity or malice. It's about weakness, the weakness that lives in each of us. Emily was weak too. She got confused, made mistakes, but she loved me. I had no doubt about that now, and if I really love her, I must understand her, accept her, forgive her. Easy? Oh no, there was still a long way to go before forgiveness. through pain, doubt, fear, but I was ready to walk that path, for us, for our love. And my podcast really helped me with that. Each new episode, each story, each conversation, it all changed me. It taught me compassion. It taught me wisdom. And most importantly, it taught me to forgive. I no longer held a grudge against Emily. Now I understood her, and I was grateful for the lesson, for the experience, for the chance to become better, stronger, wiser. And with each passing day, with each new episode of Depths of Betrayal, that wisdom grew stronger in me. I felt that just a little more, and I would be ready to take a step forward, ready to start over. Emily was changing too. Now she didn't just listen to the podcast. She lived it. She absorbed every word, learned from other people's mistakes, grew beyond herself. And one day she confessed to me, if it wasn't for your project, I would have never realized the full depth of my guilt. I wouldn't have understood how much I love you. You saved our marriage. You saved me." I just smiled. "No, honey, we saved ourselves, with our love, with our desire to be together. And I think it's time for us to move on to the next chapter. What do you think?" Tears of joy and relief glistened in Emily's eyes. She nodded and hugged me tightly. And I stroked her hair and thought, it was all worth it. The pain, the resentment, the tossing and turning. It only made us stronger, made us closer. There is still a lot of work ahead of us, on our relationship, on trust. But now I knew we would make it, because we love each other and we know how to forgive. And I will definitely tell you about it in my podcast, so that everyone knows nothing is lost as long as love is alive. And even from the most terrible pain, happiness can be forged, if you really want to, if you really try. The decision to tell everything to the listeners was not an easy one. After all, I had spent so much time in the shadows, hiding behind the mask of a nameless host. And now I was going to tell the world about myself, about Emily and me, to bear my innermost feelings. But I felt it was time. It was time to take the next step. To put an end to one story and start another. A story about love, forgiveness, and hope. I waited for the final episode of the season, like I was waiting for a verdict. I thought through every word, every phrase. And when the day of the recording came, I was overcome with jitters, but there was no turning back. "Hello, dear friends," I began in a faltering voice. "This is Depths of Betrayal again, and I am your host. Today is a special episode. Today I can finally lay all my cards on the table. To tell you who I am, and why I started this project, to confess my fears, my pain, my doubts, and my endless love for one woman." Taking a deep breath, I began my confession. I talked about my marriage to Emily, about my faith in it, and about that terrible day when everything came crashing down, about how the podcast became my outlet, my cry for help, about how Emily listened to it, tormented by remorse, how we grew close again, learned to trust each other, and were able to forgive, not completely, but enough to move on. "I still love Emily," I said, tears rolling down my cheeks, "despite all the pain she caused me, or because of that pain, because it made us both rethink our relationship, understand its value, learn to cherish each other. So, if you're listening to this and going through something similar, don't give up. Fight for your love and for your happiness. Believe me, it's worth it. My story is just one of thousands, but we all deserve a chance at redemption, at forgiveness, and at a new beginning, if we want it. With this, I say goodbye to you, my friends. Thank you for being with me all this time. I've learned a lot from you and with you, and now it's time to start a new chapter, without masks. This was Matt Cooper, and these were the Depths of Betrayal. Take care of yourself and your loved ones. With that, the recording ended. I exhaled and leaned back in my chair. That's it. I did it. I opened up, bared my soul, showed the world my real face. Scary? You bet. But I knew it was the right thing to do. It had to be done, and come what may. The confession had the effect of a bombshell. The very next day, people were recognizing me on the streets, asking for autographs, shoving letters of support at me. And what was going on the internet? It's beyond words. Matt, you're a real hero. Not everyone is capable of such honesty. Thank you for sharing with us. Your story is so similar to mine, Matt. Thank you for giving me hope. So there's a chance for me to fix everything too. I can't express how much I admire you. To go through so much pain and not to break, but to help others. You're an amazing person. I read all these comments with tears in my eyes. My God, this is what the podcast was worth starting for. To support someone, to make them feel that they are not alone. We can handle it. We can forgive and start over. But there were other reviews as well. Angry, sarcastic, full of bile and sarcasm. Of course, this Cooper is just hyping on his problems, fancies himself Oprah, damn it. And what do you call this? Forgiving cheating? He's just a weakling and a rag. I would never let that slide. I bet $100 that in 6 months he'll catch his dear wife with another man again. A leopard can't change its spots. I tried not to pay attention to this negativity. After all, everyone has their own opinion, and everyone is free to think whatever they want about me. The main thing is that Emily was there. She supported me, comforted me when it was especially hard. We became one again, one team. I'm so proud of you, honey, she whispered, kissing me on the forehead. You have no idea how many people you've helped, how many you've saved from despair. You're a real hero. I just smiled and held her tighter. My Emily, my pain and my happiness, my worst nightmare and my sweetest dream. Now we were together. And to hell with all the gossip, rumors, and ill-wishers. As long as we have each other, we are not afraid of anyone. And you know what's most amazing? After my confession, Emily's mother contacted her. Yes, the same one who threatened to rip my head off when she found out about her daughter's cheating. Matt, I have to ask for your forgiveness, she said, sobbing into the phone. You turned out to be a real man, strong, wise, noble. I wish you and Emily nothing but happiness. I was stunned. It seems that my little podcast really started to change the world, drop by drop, bit by bit, but change it nonetheless. Well, I guess it was all worth it then. My pain, Emily's tears, the sleepless nights, it only tempered us, made us stronger. Now I know for sure we'll make it. We'll get through anything and not flinch because we love each other, and love, as we know, conquers all. So that's how it is, my friends. Cherish those who are dear to you. Appreciate every moment, every second together. And don't be afraid to open your heart. Yes, it hurts. Yes, it's scary, but it's worth it. Believe me, I know. Because I am Matt Cooper, former host of the Depths of Betrayal podcast. And now, just a happy husband and loving father, and let the whole world wait. I have more important things to do right now. I need to buy diapers, walk the dog, and make it to a date with my wife. Such are the pleasant family chores. And the podcast? Well, maybe someday I'll come back. I'll do a second season. This time about how to survive a crisis and build a new life. Share my experience, so to speak. But that's a whole different story. A story with a happy ending. I hope it won't be over anytime soon. In the meantime, take care of yourself and each other. And remember, even from the most terrible pain, something beautiful can grow. If you add a little bit of love. Good luck. Did you like this story? Let us know in the comments what you liked. Subscribe to our storytelling podcast. Also, don't forget to like and ring the bell so you don't miss more interesting stories. See you soon.